Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. When you scroll through social media and see someone posting about their new car, their vacation, their designer outfit, their luxury apartment, what's your instinct? Do you think, wow, they must be doing really well? Most people do. Most people see the car and assume the bank account matches. But what if I told you that for a huge percentage of those people, the ones projecting the image of wealth the loudest, their actual bank account tells a completely different story? What if the car is financed at a brutal interest rate? What if the vacation went on a credit card that won't be paid off for 18 months? What if behind every carefully curated post about the good life, there's a savings balance that would make your stomach drop? This video is about the gap between what people appear to have and what they actually have, between the image of wealth and the reality of it. And here's why this matters so much, because that gap isn't just other people's problem. The illusion of wealth that surrounds us every single day is quietly shaping your financial decisions in ways you might not even be aware of. So let's pull back the curtain. Let's talk about what's actually in people's bank accounts. And more importantly, let's talk about what should be in yours. We have a collective agreement in modern society to never talk about money honestly. Think about it. You probably know your best friend's relationship history, their family drama, their health issues, but do you know their bank balance? Do you know if they're in debt? Do you know how much they actually have saved? Almost certainly not, because money is the last great taboo. We don't talk about it openly. And because we don't talk about it openly, we're all quietly filling in the blanks with our imagination. And our imagination, it turns out, is wildly optimistic about other people and harshly critical about ourselves. This creates a psychological trap that researchers call social comparison. We look at the visible signals around us, the cars, the clothes, the holidays, the restaurant check-ins, and we use those signals to build a picture of how we're doing relative to everyone else. The problem is, those signals are almost completely disconnected from actual financial health. A study by the American Psychological Association found that financial stress is one of the leading causes of anxiety for adults, affecting the majority of people regardless of income level. Meanwhile, surveys on consumer spending show that millions of people are regularly spending more than they earn, propped up on credit. So we have a society where almost everyone is quietly stressed about money, quietly in debt, quietly living beyond their means, but the external performance everybody puts on says the opposite. Everyone looks fine. Everyone looks like they're doing well. And you're sitting there wondering why you feel like you're falling behind, when the reality is you're probably doing better than you think. And the people you're comparing yourself to are probably more financially fragile than they appear. Let me give you some actual numbers, because numbers cut through the illusion faster than anything else. Survey data consistently shows that a significant portion of adults in developed countries, often cited around 60 to 70%, say they would struggle to cover an unexpected expense of even a few $100s without going into debt or borrowing from someone. Not thousands, hundreds. And these aren't people living in poverty. These are working people, people with jobs, cars, phones, subscriptions, and social media accounts that look completely normal. The average household carries thousands of dollars in credit card debt, money borrowed at interest rates of 20, 25, even 30% in some cases. That means for every $100 they owe, they're paying back $20 or $25 every year just in interest alone, on top of the original amount. And here's the part that really stings. While all of this is happening, the savings rate in many of these same households is close to zero, which means they're not building a cushion, they're not building investments, they're just cycling through income and debt month after month on a financial treadmill that never actually moves them forward. Now, does any of this look like what you see on social media? Does it match the picture being painted by the new car posts and the vacation photos? Of course not, because nobody posts a photo of their credit card statement. Let's break down the real anatomy of the average person's financial life, because it helps to have a clear picture. Think of someone earning a solid middle-class income, let's say $50,000 a year. Before taxes, that sounds comfortable. After taxes and deductions, they're taking home maybe $35,000. That's around $2,900 a month. Now let's follow that money. Rent or mortgage takes a big chunk, let's say $1,200, car payment, maybe $350, insurance, utilities, groceries, phone, probably another $700. That leaves them with around $600 for everything else: gas, clothing, dining out, entertainment, unexpected costs, kids if they have them. $600 doesn't go very far in the real world, and when you're down to that margin, saving feels impossible. So most months, nothing gets saved, and some months when something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, a flight for a family emergency, they reach for the credit card. The balance climbs a little more, the minimum payment goes up a little more, the margin gets a little smaller. And on social media, they look completely fine. This is not a story about irresponsible people. This is a story about a system, a combination of rising costs, flat wages, easy credit, and social pressure to keep up that makes financial fragility the norm rather than the exception. Here's the psychological layer that makes all of this even more powerful and more dangerous. Humans are extraordinarily social creatures. We've evolved to be intensely aware of our status relative to our peers. For most of human history, that meant comparing things like, am I contributing enough to the group? Am I respected? Am I safe? But in modern consumer society, status has been almost completely redirected towards stuff. We signal status through what we own, what we wear, where we eat, what we drive. And because those signals are so visible, and because what actually makes people financially healthy is almost completely invisible, we end up in a situation where everyone is optimizing for the appearance of wealth rather than the reality of it. Economists call this the Veblen effect, the idea that some goods become more desirable specifically because they're expensive and visible. Not because they make your life better, but because they communicate something to other people. And this is costing people an enormous amount of money, not because they're bad with money, but because they're responding rationally to the social signals around them. They're playing the game they can see. They just don't realize the game they can see is the wrong one. There's a concept in personal finance sometimes called the millionaire next door effect, and it comes from research by a couple of wealth researchers who spent years studying actual wealthy households in America. What they found surprised almost everyone. The majority of truly wealthy people, people with genuine, sustainable net worth, don't look wealthy. They drive modest cars, they live in middle-class neighborhoods, they wear normal clothes, they don't post vacations every week. Meanwhile, the people who look wealthy, who drive luxury cars and live in expensive apartments and wear designer everything, very often have almost nothing in savings. They are what the researchers called big hat, no cattle, all image, no substance. The real wealth is almost always invisible. It's in brokerage accounts, in index funds, in paid-off mortgages, in businesses, in assets that sit quietly in the background, compounding, growing, never photographed, never posted, never seen. And the flashy wealth, the stuff that gets all the attention, that's usually financed. That's usually the thing that's keeping someone financially stuck, even as it broadcasts the signal of success. So why does this happen? Why do smart people consistently choose the performance of wealth over the reality of it? There are a few psychological forces at work here, and understanding them is genuinely important because it helps you recognize when they're influencing you. The first one is called relative deprivation. This is the feeling that you don't have enough, not measured in absolute terms, but measured against what you perceive others to have. You might be objectively doing fine, but if everyone around you appears to be doing better, you experience that as a form of deprivation, and that feeling is uncomfortable, and spending reduces that discomfort, at least temporarily. The second one is called present bias. This is the very human tendency to value things that feel good now far more heavily than things that will feel good in the future. A vacation feels real and exciting today. A retirement account feels abstract and distant. Even when you logically know the retirement account is more important, present bias pulls hard in the opposite direction. The third one is identity spending. A lot of purchases aren't really about the object being bought. They're about who the purchase says you are. The luxury brand isn't just a bag, it's a statement. I've made it.
I belong here, I'm successful. And that feeling is powerful, but it comes at a price, sometimes a very large price. These three forces, relative deprivation, present bias, and identity spending, are being actively exploited by advertisers, social media platforms, and consumer companies every single day. They know exactly which psychological buttons to push, and they push them constantly. Understanding this doesn't make you immune, but it does give you a fighting chance. Here's the most important reframe in this entire video. Real financial health is invisible, almost by definition. Money in a savings account doesn't show up on Instagram. An investment portfolio doesn't make a good photo. A paid-off debt is just an absence of something. You can't see it, you can't show it off, and nobody at a dinner party is going to compliment you on it. But those invisible things, they are the entire game. Net worth, which is simply what you own minus what you owe, is the only number that actually tells you where you stand financially. Not your salary, not your car, not the restaurant you went to last weekend. And most people never think about their net worth. They think about their income, their expenses, and the balance in their checking account at any given moment. But none of those things tell you if you're actually building anything. You could earn $100,000 a year and have a negative net worth if you're owing more than you own. And you could earn $40,000 a year and be building genuine wealth if you're consistently spending less than you earn and investing the difference. Income is the headline, net worth is the story. So what do you actually do with all of this? The first thing is to stop measuring yourself against the performance. The cars, the clothes, the trips, the posts, none of that tells you anything real about someone's financial health. You are comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel, and it will make you feel behind when you're not. The second thing is to calculate your actual net worth right now, this month. Add up everything you own, savings, investments, the value of any property, any vehicles, then add up everything you owe, credit card balances, student loans, car loans, mortgages. Subtract what you owe from what you own. That number is your score, not your salary, not your lifestyle, your net worth. If it's negative, you're not alone. A large percentage of people under 35 have a negative net worth because of student loans and early debt. But knowing the number is the beginning of changing it. The third thing is to make invisible wealth your actual goal. This is the mindset shift that separates the people who build real financial security from the people who stay on the treadmill. Every time you put money into savings or investments, you're building something real, something that grows, something that one day will give you options, freedom, and security that no amount of visible spending can provide. The goal isn't to look wealthy, the goal is to be wealthy, and those two things require opposite strategies. Looking wealthy means spending conspicuously. Being wealthy means spending intentionally and saving consistently. Looking wealthy means impressing people you mostly don't know. Being wealthy means building a future for yourself and the people you actually care about. One of those strategies puts on a show that costs you your financial future. The other one builds quietly in the background, invisible to everyone except you, until one day it becomes undeniable. The fourth thing, and I want to be honest that this one is hard, is to get comfortable with a different kind of status signal. Because we are social creatures, the need to communicate status isn't going away, but you can consciously redirect what signals you're looking for. The people who are genuinely building wealth find their identity in different things. Financial knowledge, discipline, the ability to say no to things that don't matter, the freedom that comes from having options, a savings rate they're proud of, even if nobody outside their household knows what it is. These are real signals of financial success. They're just not visible on social media, which is actually fine because they're not for social media. They're for your life.
Here's the thought I want to leave you with. There's a version of this world where everyone can see each other's bank balances, where the actual numbers are public, not the performances, where instead of comparing cars and clothes, you compare savings rates and net worth. In that world, a lot of the pressure to overspend would evaporate overnight, because the people who look like they have the most would often turn out to have very little. And the people quietly living below their means, the ones who aren't posting much, who drive the same car for 10 years, who bring lunch to work, would turn out to be the ones actually winning. We don't live in that world. We live in a world where the performance is loud and the reality is hidden, which means you have to hold two things in your head at the same time. One, almost everything you're seeing about other people's finances is a distortion. Don't let it become your benchmark. Two, the only financial story that actually matters is the one you're writing for yourself, with your own numbers, your own net worth, your own choices. That story isn't going to go viral, nobody's going to double tap it, but it's the only one that will still be paying dividends, literally, 20 years from now. Stop trying to look like you have money. Start actually building it. The people who do that, you'll never see them coming, until one day you realize they were ahead of you the whole time.
If you found this video helpful and want to learn more simple strategies about money, investing, and building wealth, make sure to subscribe to the channel. New videos are posted every week to help you understand money in the simplest way possible. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and share it with someone who wants to improve their financial future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.